Hello and welcome to the Coffee Magic channel, where we are currently playtesting a green-white Ultimatum deck. Now it's 2023, so we're not actually using Ultimatum, we're using the World spell to try and gain the same or similar effect. It's certainly not as explosive, nor does this deck in its current state have the same destructive, accelerant or controlling elements of a traditional top tier Ultimatum deck that we would have seen a couple of years ago. But it is competitive and it does have some strengths that are helping it get up the ladder. So let's jump into it now. I'll run through the build, the thought process, and some potential improvements in the future. So effectively, naturally with an Ultimatum similar to Reanimator, what we're looking at doing is getting out the biggest, baddest and most powerful cards we can as quickly as we can to give ourselves a huge advantage in the mid to late game and really take control with a lot of dominating threats that are hard to target or hard to address all at once. So let's start at the deep end of the pool. Portal to Phyrexia, it's obviously very hard to hardcast this at 9 mana, but when it enters the battlefield, the opponent will have to sacrifice 3 creatures, and it will also allow us at the beginning of our upkeeps to target creatures in our or the opponent's graveyards, allowing us to really just get a little bit of width on our side of the board, and also the fact that we are forcing our opponent to sacrifice 3 creatures at that mid to late stage. We already have a lot of removal, but this is just going to help us get through any last remnants that they've managed to put on the board. Second is the Titan of Industry. Needs no introduction. It's a very capable creature in its own right, whether you hardcast this or bring it down via the World spell. The Titan of Industry, I've most commonly found the value to be in the shield counter and gaining 5 life. Naturally, this deck is a mid to late game deck, so we take quite a bit of damage early on. So yeah, we really appreciate that 5 life, and the shield counter will just give this a little bit of longevity. You can sort of pick whether you want to go with the 4/4 Rhino Warrior or the shield counter, depending on the matchup. I mean, if you're against black or red, or even white, potentially get that shield counter. If you're up against a bit of aggro or you don't expect the removal to be there, maybe go for the Rhino, just a little bit wider. Apart from that, it has reach, it has trample, it is good to hit with and good to block with, so it's a great body to have on the board. And the next one that we have is Sanctuary Warden. This can also be hard cast quite easily with this deck. It's a 6 mana cost, flying with 2 shield counters. And when it enters the battlefield or attacks, we can remove a counter and we can draw a card and create a 1/1 citizen creature token. I think also, rather importantly, the counters are not just the shield counter that's on it. So if you put a +1/+1 counter on it, a -1/-1 counter, flying, vigilance, or maybe not flying, it's already got flying, but any counters that you put on it or your opponent puts on it can also be removed. So in that sense, sometimes it has a little bit of added value where it can deal with penalties that get put on it, most likely coming from black. But yeah, it's just an interesting mechanic. And the fact it has flying and the fact that Titan of Industry has reach gives us the ability to protect ourselves from those evasive attacks if we haven't managed to board wipe them already. Now, the deck is obviously hinging around 4 copies of World Spell. I've had 2 copies, I've had 3 copies, and I've had 4 copies in this deck. Really looking for what is a right blend between dealing with the threats on the board early, hard casting if you have these in your hand, and I actually found World Spell at 4 copies is the right number. We're very likely going to a turn 4 or 5 with this deck, so if you're on the draw, that means you've drawn 6 or 7 cards, and considering, let's say that's 14 cards into your deck, every likelihood that you've probably got 1 or 2 of these cards in your hand at that point in time. So you're going to be hard casting something. If you've got 1 in your hand, maybe, and depending on the pressure on the board, you can read ahead on the World spell. And this is really effective because if you're already holding up 1 or 2 of these 3 cards here, you can just hard cast World spell, trigger the third third law counter, and yeah, you can sort of trigger this card exactly as you would have the Ultimatum. It's obviously going to lack explicitly the potency the Ultimatum did because you could run a lot of 1-ofs or maybe 2-off in the deck at best. to get those out, but I've still found this deck has a lot of potency. It's definitely got some vulnerability up against blue control specifically, a little bit against the trend of mono red aggro that we're seeing at the moment, and also it's going to have a weakness towards discard, but I actually haven't run into many of those decks in recent times, so I think we'll probably be safe from that. And then when we are looking at survivability, how do we play this deck? It's obviously very slow. The first card that we're going to be playing would be Union of the Third Path. We're going to have a full hand by the time we get around to playing this, so we're going to gain 5 or 6 life, erasing a lot of the chip damage that we take early on. And what we're looking to do here is really curve out to that 4 mana where we get to drop either a Depopulate or a Cartographer's Survey to accelerate up 1 or 2, or actually accelerate preferably 2 lands. I do get unlucky every now and again, but we're running 27 lands in this deck, so you should hit the 2 lands in the top 7 cards of your deck, and then you'll also be able to farewell anything else that is hitting the board. So 2 4-ofs, complete board wipes, which are very effective. Another comment that I'll make about Depopulate is it is destroy all creatures, doesn't hit any other component of the board, and that is the reason we have Sanctuary Warden, and the reason I recommend taking that shield counter for Titan of Industry. It's going to allow you to clear the board if it starts to stack up again, and it will miss your creatures. Likewise, Depopulate is sending everything to the graveyard, and you can omit targeting the graveyard with Farewell, which ensures that your Portal to Phyrexia will be hitting something, which is always nice to have. Now, from the early game, you're going to want to trigger Awaken the Woods between turns 4 and 6, depending on the pressure that you're feeling and what you're up against. If it's pressure heavy and you are expecting you may need the blockers, I'd get this down quick, because it is better to have it done and out of the way with the extra mana, because you never know. If you draw into a Titan of Industry or a Sanctuary Warden, it can stabilize the game for another turn or 2, or 3 even, and usually that's enough for this deck to get to the position it needs to take control. So that's it in a nutshell. The mana base is quite standard. I mean, it's only two colors, green and white. What you want to focus on here is actually disposition towards securing your white mana base. The main reason for that is Depopulate and Farewell need 2 planes or 2 white mana to kick off, and the late game, the World Spell and Titan of Industry, by the time you get there, you'll have plenty of land, particularly if you're using Awaken the Woods, Cartographer's Survey, or even Kayla's Command, which allows you to search your library for a basic plains card. You'll have plenty of land in the pool to get those late spells out. So effectively, I think I'll leave it there. I've named this the Green-White Ultimatum 1.5. That's because I don't anticipate keeping this as a green-white 2-color deck. This is me getting a feel for the top end or deep end of this deck, and I anticipate transitioning this either into a blue, green and white deck or a black, green and white deck. But let's do some playthrough and we can come back to that after. Okay, here we are with Snakebite in the first game for the deck. The playthrough is going to be interesting. This is actually a good starting land base. Union of the Third Path, Awaken the Woods, straight into Titan of Industry. He's got to kill us quick, and sadly the meta is full of quick decks right now. I think I've played tested 7, 8, 9 games, come up overwhelmingly against mono red, and there's just so much damage out of mono red at the moment. And they're ending games. I mean, you know you've lost by turn 3. They end on turn 4. If you're lucky, turn 5. So I'm not enjoying the meta with this deck at the moment, but I am sort of wanting this deck to work because it seems like it's got the makeup of a really fun deck. I just need to work out the kinks. There are some things not fitting here. Titan of Industry is definitely a keeper, and so is Sanctuary Warden. They give themselves survivability. There are big threats on the table. It's cool. Cool. We picked up the Portal, which is also a great late game targeted removal for your opponent, not for you. I do love that. It cleans up the board a little bit so we can swing and win. Now here is some fun. Cast for 2, it will accelerate us to be in position to drop both Titan of Industry next turn or Sanctuary Warden, unless he removes it. But everyone feels bad removing a 1/1 Dryad. Let's just do whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may pay 1 life. If they do, they draw a card. Okay, well, no blocks. Let that pass. He's tapped out. So there's not really going to be anything problematic coming out for us yet. Oh, and a beautiful wipe. That is exactly what we wanted to see. The only question is, are we going to play it? We have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are 2 mana short of dropping the Portal to Phyrexia. At this time, I think we are going to drop this. Or do we drop this one first? Let's drop this because it's got the shield counters. It's a big body to block. We don't need to remove a counter right now. And I don't want to play this yet in case there's an artifact or enchantment that is worth destroying. This is part of the utility of our deck, not to play it as fast as possible. It's advantageous to hold it up and see what else is coming out. Now that's going to sting, but we need to be adult about it and take that punishment. I feel that Farewell is calling to us. Something there is saying use it. This has reach. First strike reach at the beginning of combat on your turn. Put X plus 1/+1 counters. Where X is, yeah, interesting. Getting the feeling that we're probably going to have to Farewell the board unless we draw something with the next turn. Should we take the risk? That is the question. Should we take the risk? You know what? I think we do not take the risk. Do we need an extra blocker? Because this is going to get targeted straight away. Now look, let's end the turn. We don't need to make a decision yet. He's only got 6 land, 5 mana open. Yeah, okay, I'm getting the feeling now that the board wipe is the way to go. Yeah, the board wipe is coming down next turn. This is too much for us to handle, even with the portal out. It's got 4 cards in hand, we don't know what that is. Yeah, think twice. Thank you. Ooh, each player who controls multi-lands. We could just destroy it. I mean, that's fun. Let's just attack with Sanctuary Warden. Remove 1 counter from it. Pick something up. I mean, I don't even care what's going to happen. Perfect. And now the question becomes, do we depopulate or do we Farewell? We depopulate. Or do we try and survive? And drop Phyrexia. You know what? Now that I think about it, let's try this and this. Shield counter on the Titan. We tried for the draw of the land, we didn't hit it, but let's see if we hit it next turn. Okay, so there's going to be some blocking this turn, that's for sure. Okay, so we need to concede that on this turn. Wow, still no land. Incredible. At this point, we just go face. That's the best strategy. At least we're going to have some solid turns coming up to do something. He knows we're going to board wipe, so he'll block everything, which is the right move. Oh, I'm surprised he didn't block everything. We should have seen a board wipe coming. He chose to take some damage unnecessarily. Now we say farewell to everything. I'm not even leaving the graveyard free. Get rid of the whole damn board. Hard reset, so maybe we draw a land in the next 4 turns. Let's see. He's going to hit us for 2. I'm not sure if that was... obviously he doesn't have anything else in hand as a threat. That's why he activated it. Got it. We're probably going to have to... Oh, wow. So we could cast... Let's cast Union first. Finally, we hit the land that we've been looking for. We can't do anything now, so we pass the turn. Gonna take 2, maybe 5, 6, 7. So I'd say we're safe. Yep, that was worst case scenario. But we're still safe. We're going for a farewell. No, we're gonna hit with depopulate. Pass the turn. Just keep burning through their steam. Burning through their wood, their fuel. I don't know what it is. They got a lot of threats though in this deck. I mean, I'm impressed. They've been able to put out some danger. I am feeling the threats. Do I want to use this instead? Somehow I feel depopulate again. Just don't want to take that damage yet. Oh, that was the wrong play because we just let him draw a card off that. That was a silly play. Should have been farewell. That was the call. I'm surprised we've been drawing mana very slowly, or drawing lands very slowly this game. God, he's got a lot of multicolors. Well, we're not going to be handing him any more draws now that we have farewell exclusively. 4, 5, 6, 7 lands. We still need to draw 2, but we're going to be able to gain 10 life total from the Titan of Industry. That's 2 fat 7/7s. We can also drop 4 4s if we need to, and we also can put a shield counter on these. So we've got a little bit of time on our hands. Let's just blow the whole thing up. Exile all creatures. Yes, we're not going to exile the graveyard, so because when that comes down, it's going to be sweet to rip things out of his graveyard. Interesting. He's got 32 cards left in his deck. he's not chewing through it too fast, so he's got time. Yeah, look, if he's slowed down, we're gonna speed up. We gain 5 life, and we put a shield counter on it. He is ripping through that deck now. Depopulate, not a problem. That's what we needed. Now, the question is, do we cast it now, or do we wait? Oh, I want to cast it now. I know we get no value out of that. But it's just too fun the next turn to know what's coming. What do we even want from his deck? That was a very strange play. Yeah, let's take that one to start with. This is gonna be fun. Alright then, so we could... No, we're just gonna use this again. Going to protect it with another shield counter. We're gonna go and grab a 4/4. Done. And I think it gains double strike too. Just create one more creature. +1/+1 and double strike. Oh, it had summoning sickness. Yeah. That was an excellent first game. Thank you very much, Snakebite. He played that pretty well. His deck had a lot of firepower. That's impressive. I mean, I don't know how that goes in the ranked ladders, if it's actually as good as it felt. But that put a lot of threats on the board, and for him it was just bad luck that we drew into so much board wipe. But it was also bad luck for us that we went 6 or 7 turns without drawing a single land. The single land that we needed to drop the portal early and win the game. So I think a bit of bad luck on both sides, but it played out, and happy to take that win. Here we are with our next opponent, Crank Mob. Interesting name and nice avatar. Is this the hand we keep, or is this the hand we mulligan? Put it this way, we got 3 lands. We're on the draw, so we'll probably have 4 lands by the time we need it. We have definitely some threats. You know, I'm going to keep it because I think we're going to get a threat out or 2. We'll be able to play it. Yeah, there's a land. So now I'm comfortable with the hand. We have 2 plains equivalent. We have 2 forests, 3 forest equivalent. So we have the curve that we are looking for. Drop the forest, pass the turn. Misery's Shadow. Exile creatures, 2/2. That's a very cool card. I just like the mechanics of this. I don't enjoy playing against it, if I'm honest. But looks like we're going to be pitching our Aganjo to deal with it. Yeah. Let's pass. Just think about this. Deceptively functional. And we're not going to give him... I had to read that just for a second. Sometimes they word it funny, and you can make an easy mistake that you don't want to give your opponent that extra card, particularly when they don't need it or deserve it. Okay, here we got the plains. Yes or no? No, I'm not feeling that right now. Let's Get a couple more mana equivalent on the board. He's probably going to be able to deal with one, but it's up to him. I mean, there's no more Meat Hook Massacre in the meta, so these Dryads are safe unless someone's willing to blow some destruction on 1/1 Dryads. Fight Rigging, there's a cool card. People need to play that more. I haven't seen it actually be valuable, but it's a cool card. That's gonna hurt, but we have to accept our fate. Drop this, and then I say drop this. Gain 5 life. Actually, hang on. Gain 5 life and put a shield counter on it. Or do we destroy it? Because then he's just going to blow this up and we're dead. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. So we put a shield counter. So I'm very confident he's got destruction, so it's important that we protect that. Smart thing to do here is attack first, see if we block. Then you can probably blow up the Titan. I'm not sure why he made that play. Oh, Toxrill, the Corrosive is a very nice card as well. We could do with a board wipe here, that would be highly appreciated. I think we have to get this out. Maybe we're going to have to remove a counter from this. And no attacks for now. 6 mana. Wow, that's... Speaking of each end step, that's amazing. That's a... You know what, actually now, I read that originally as at the end of the player that controls its end step. Now that I see that, that's incredible. I mean, yeah, of course we have to do this, don't we? We need to draw a ball out desperately this turn. And we got what we needed, so... He's probably going to know what's coming, but let's swing anyway. Oh, that's funny. You can remove the Toxrill's counters from Sanctuary Warden in the attack. That is hilarious. Okay, so let's get this mana out. And then we will exile all artifacts, all creatures, all enchantments. Leave the graveyard, because we're going to start fishing in that with Port of Phyrexia shortly. Nice board reset. I didn't expect he would have a Titan. That's a curious one. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we do need 2. Actually, no. Actually, we have what we need right here. We're going to drop this. Pump it right up and bring out the Warden and the Portal immediately. That was the play right there. Very nice. We don't need to do anything to it. Let him get rid of what he has. Titan of Industry comes out again. Of course he would. That makes a lot of sense. Now, Does have vigilance? Doesn't it? Just has flying. So he can't block it and it gains double strike. Can we have mana for 2. So I can put it from a 5/5 to 6/6 to a 7/7, but he's on 17. Intriguing. We can also grab ourselves a blocker, but that has trample. Well, the best thing to do here is going to be this and gain life. Yep, we can see that we have the portal coming to us the next turn. I'm happy to go wide with that Awaken the Woods as well. So let's attack because he has reach. But we have indestructibility. So let's see what he wants to do here. Interesting that he chose to block that. Do we want to cast the second one? No, we don't actually. There's no value. That's cool. But we now have portal. Oh, we don't have the mana to cast it. And we know what's coming next. So the main point here is going to be, we'll be down to, if we attack, we choose to remove a counter, we'll draw a card, so we'll lose 2 life. Then we'll be able to play it, go wide, take a lot of mana, and drop the portal on the next turn. That is cutting it close, but I think that is the right play. Do we want to go with double damage here? Double it up, gain 2 life as well, and scry 2. Yeah, let's do that. It comes into play tapped, so give us a real land or nothing at all. We will remove a +1/+1 counter, not the shield counter. I cast Awaken the Woods for 3. Continue to go wide, so we got blockers on the field. No matter what happens, we should have enough mana on the next turn to drop Portal to Phyrexia, blow up his board, and end the game. Yeah, look, that was the right play to make. Death Touch, 1 block here, 1 block here. Nothing has trample from what I can see. So that's it. We have that last Dryad that we need to drop Portal. Does he have a board wipe? He might be sitting on 1. Doesn't look to be. And that is game. Thank you, Crank Mob. Phew. That was intense for a while there, but we took control. Named by Committee is the next opponent. Just a reminder, this is not ranked because I am still building this deck, so we'll play testing. So we'll see how it goes. This is a hand that I want to keep because we have 2 planes, so we can actually cast the Depopulate. We don't worry about 3 forests because we'll draw into that later. We have 1 forest, which is enough. 3 mana is going to get you near the 3rd path off twice. We are going to have some cards in hand. This is good. Let's go. Oh, it's a nice day. Everyone's saying hello to us. This doesn't usually happen. Everyone ignores me usually. Let's drop a generic plains and look generic. I gotta say, these are really nice lands. I like these. I do think this has got to be some of the best value any player can get is upgrading their basic lands. Always get to see them, always get to play them, and they look good. Okay, so we drop Boseiju, who endures. Probably going to need to get on to a removal. Oh wow, 3 units of third path. We're going to be able to take this, maybe not as late as I thought if he's running Steel Seraph, but we're going to be able to take it a little later. That's exciting. Get down to 15. Drop this. Pass the turn just to look a little bit vulnerable and a little bit tasty. Hopefully they swing in with some aggro, they drop some creatures they should be holding up if they have some concern. Play champion, resolve. That is also very painful for us, but that's fine. I mean, we're gonna live. He's probably thinking this was the easiest match of his life. Little does he know we're about to gain a lot of life and wipe the board after this. Let's just do it now. Feels good. We're going to drop another plains, get depopulate out, clean up the board. Pass the turn. Next turn we drop a forest. We're going to drop another unit of third path. Maybe on the turn after that we drop another unit of third path. And we go from there. And look at this. It is lining up beautifully for us. Should have casted that before dropping the land. That's an amateur mistake. Make sure you don't do that if you build this deck. Leave the mistakes to me. Learn from them and don't make them. Yeah, look, that's fine. I gotta say, Lion Sash is a cool card too. I like it because you can reconfigure it, attach it to another creature, and avoid, not farewell, but you can avoid depopulate. It's just a little bit of utility if you need it. Play champion, yeah, cool. It's gonna get real aggressive with that one, I can sense it. Pass it. And then off the third path. Oh, that's just beautiful. Another depopulate comes up. Oh, do we want to use farewell here? Just exile the stuff, or do we want to use depopulate? Let's go depopulate, because we're still running Portal to Phyrexia in here. We can get value out of the graveyard, and I don't see that he has much to restart using his graveyard. So, we're an artifact is bad. We'll put +1/+1 counter on it. Very cool. But I find this to be even cooler. Yeah, we're going to remove one shield counter, because we do want to try and grab a land, which we did successfully. That's perfect. That gives us 7. We can now drop the Titan of Industry, or we can drop a world spell into 2 Titan of Industry, and at that point he may just wish to quit, or we can make this even spicier and go wider, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's drop the world spell. I don't want to waste all this utility out here. I'm going to use it at turn 1. See what we can grab. There we go, portal. That's what we want. Yeah, I just don't see. Decline. I'm going to keep that shield counter on. This deck is starting to iron out quite nicely, because we can still drop depopulates on top of Sanctuary Warden and on top of Titan of Industry and get away with it. So yeah, sure, we're going to throw a blocker in here. I'll take 3. juicy land. I'm not going to say no to that. This deck is always looking for land. Question is, how are we going to play our next turn? Could drop this. That would leave us with 5 after we play a land. Okay, so let's do that. Go back up in health. Now we're going to drop this land to maximize the value of Awaken the Woods. We're going to activate that for 2, only 2. I thought it was 3, but that's good enough. I'm going to attack again with Sanctuary Warden. Decline. I'm gonna say, when I first saw Sanctuary Warden, I didn't enjoy the card, but I do enjoy it now. I don't know if he's aware of Portal to Phyrexia in my hand. I mean, we can just take that. Go to face. Yeah, now we drop Portal and Titan. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. The second that card, the second the world spell goes off, if your hand is loaded, they're just gonna quit. It's very much, it's getting similar to the, it's getting to the point now where it's very similar to playing an Ultimatum deck, where all the fight is in those first 4 or 5 turns. If you manage to survive, then you're going to put threats on the board which are very, very hard to deal with. If the opponent holds up counter magic, you're going to know. I mean, they're playing blue, they're going late, they're going slow. It's going to be difficult to play around. You're going to have to try. I'm actually considering a alternate version of this deck where we may include either transition to blue to bring in Hullbreaker Titan, get a little bit of immunity to counter magic, or pack some of our own, because we managed to get enough land on the board. I think defending that is going to be key, or defending our advantage. But again, most of this meta seems to be pretty aggro red. There is not a lot of blue control out there, so happy to take this win from Named by Committee, and let's see how we go on the next one. And we're up against Inked. Opponent is going first. We're on the draw. We're holding 4 lands. And farewell, we have no accelerant in hand, which is not good. I really want to mulligan this, but we're going to play it greedy. We may live to regret. But let's get the party started. So they have to see our hand, and they're probably thinking we are stupid for playing with this. And it could be true. It could be. Look, I think we're gonna have to play that one. So we're gonna bin the land, because we're gonna bring it back with Kayla's command anyway. Union of the Third Path is also nice. I don't like binning cards that my opponents can't see either.
A fight? And you think
I'm tired of your secrets. Card. Okay, I think we will need to discard the world spell. He's playing very aggressive early, so he fears this deck's potential, I'd say. He's not wanting us to get to the late game to drop the threats. But I got news for him. They are coming. Let's go and grab a plains. Create that 2/2 and get the plains. Yeah. This is an odd deck. It's just going to go really aggro.
You won't be outsmarting me.
I mean, at this point, Union of the Third Path is worthless without having more in it. that sacrifice when it goes off is just not gonna be valuable for him. Yeah, we can discard the
We all
next one.
have things we'd rather forget.
Well, what do you want to do now? You've put the deck, both of us, on 0. And I mean, now I know I just have to play anything I draw. I can't hold it, so that doesn't really worry me either. And he's going to try and chip me down. So if I get a decent draw,
Ooh. Normally, I'm the one who chooses who lives and who dies.
oh wow, separate all permanents including lands, that is beautiful. Oh, we sacrifice pile 2. That's outstanding. I underestimated this deck. That is an excellent strategy. Truly excellent. Question will be, can I do anything? So I have enough mana to do one thing. Who knows what that one thing will be? Okay, so we need to draw Farewell. It's the only answer we can find. We don't hit Farewell. We're going to... I think we're dead on the next turn. Yeah, so let's just cast it anyway. Scry and get a construct out. I'm not going to be able to cast it. And we can't get through our own Sanctuary Warden. So... yeah, good game. That was impressive. Fully underestimated how that was going to unfold. Okay, Rand, a Grimstone. We have 3 lands, Unity of the Third Path, Farewell, Awaken the Woods, and the World Swap. This is the perfect hand, so we should have a good game. I'd rather be on the draw, but on the play is fine. How do we want to play this? Let's drop that up front. He's probably playing an aggressive white deck, potentially even Angel, Soldier, Spirit. And there is a new type of it's Artifact too. Artifact Soldier, it looks like. Interesting. I haven't actually come up against one yet that was threatening. Let's cast this one. Pass the turn. We'll cast Union of the Third Path on his turn just to give us something to do. Leaving mana open always makes people second guess. Not a problem. Double strike when it's better if we draw a card. Not bad for 3. But he's a 1-1. Pass to combat. Pass to attackers. He'll swing for 3. Swing for 4 he will. No problem. Get some life. Draw a card for Exim Portal. Perfect. Delicious. Drop the lands, swing for depopulate, clean it all up, take it later. We've also got Cartographer's Survey here. I think we're going to do a survey on the next turn, then Farewell the turn after that, into the World Spell, and onwards to the win. This deck is really starting to flow at the moment. But we haven't come up against our nemesis, which is red deck aggro. mono red. I do hate mono red. Doesn't matter what deck I'm playing, where I am in the ladder. I just dislike it. Man, I mean, it ends games fast. It can be extremely powerful. I used to have mono red goblin tribal a decade ago, and it was very, very fun. It was very powerful. But they're hit or miss. If they get board wiped and they can't restart, then they're done. But that's sort of the magic of them. What did I say we were going to do? Cartographer Survey, but I feel we get a little bit more value from casting Awaken the Woods. Awaken the Woods would allow us to get 3 mana generating dryads, which means we'd have 5, 6, 7, 8, which is not enough for Portal to Phyrexia. So we're going to play this one. A little bit conservative, grab a couple of lands. Next turn, if there's not much action on his side, we can Awaken the Woods. Otherwise, we farewell. Then into the World Spell and go from there. Is that... Oh, he's playing blue, so he does have some... it's a soldier deck, wow. Kudos for building one. I've been looking at building one, but I haven't found the right mix of value. But Steel Seraph has really come in and given a lot of capability to some of these early mid-range mono-white decks. That said, this is not mono-white. So really even anything we want, there's nothing that we want on his side, which is disappointing. Can he kill us this turn? I don't think so. Should we World Spell first into Farewell? It's going to be a 5/5. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I don't think he can end the game. So let's go World Spell. We're not going to read ahead or add any lore counters. We just let it start at 1. And see what it offers us. What does it have to offer us? Oh, Titan of Industry and Sanctuary Warden. We want them both. Which one do we want more? Titan of Industry for the life gain. Now he knows he's really only got 2 turns to kill me. 1 turn would be better. So it's 10 damage we're taking, maybe even 11. No, is it only 9? No, it has to be 10. What's this one do? Yeah, it's 10. Beginning of combat. So down to 4, but that doesn't upset us. We have Farewell. We're going to hit the board for everything except enchantments. He's up to 31, so he's looking a beefy boy at the moment. We're going to grab the headquarters, drop the Farewell, and Farewell all artifacts, creatures, and leave the graveyard. He's tapped out, so he's got nowhere to go. Drop the land. We are going to have an enjoyable next turn with Portal of Phyrexia coming down and Titan of Industry, followed up by a very large Awaken the Woods. Ouch. Can he end it here? He's looking, he's thinking. It's not enough. It's close, but no cigar. Down comes the Titan, down comes the portal to Phyrexia, and the pain begins. So immediately we're gonna gain 5 life, and we will we put a shield counter on it. Target player and shield counter on our Titan. Play the land, and we go wide on this. Pay 10. 2, so it's 2, 4, 6, 7. So we're going 7 first. 5, 6, 7. Nice and wide. We're going to go wider and wider again. Now he's playing white, so he can have a board wipe. But he was a very good sport. Good game before the forfeit. Thank you, Rand Grimstone. So I think we're going to leave it here for today, and we'll jump into some wrap up after this, and we'll continue to build this deck out and see what we can make it. See if we can make it competitive on the ladder. Okay, so we managed to play through several games. We have run into... Actually, I think we've run into the full meta in this playthrough. We did run up against a very interesting mono black deck that was running heavy discard, which absolutely obliterated us, and I underestimated that completely. The other interesting part of this is we did see some counter magic coming into play. It wasn't such a threat. We managed to push through it, but I don't think once you get this deck out into the ranked ladders that it's going to stand up against much better players. So that's given me some serious consideration to splicing blue at this stage. I'm not sure how we are going to push blue into this. I think I will likely be removing the mana base accelerant in favor of card draw and counter magic. I may even drop 1 or 2 of the heavy side of this, meaning we could look at dropping Sanctuary Warden, maybe a copy of Titan of Industry and or a copy of the World Spell. I'll justify that as I playtest, but I would be expecting, if we've got sort of 6, 8, maybe even 9, I don't know, we'll find the number, it'll be between 6 and 9 card draw, put in a little bit of counter magic, maybe 4 to 6 counter magic, and that should give us a working base to begin with. I may also put the Hullbreaker Horror in here as a playtest. It could be hardcast, and given that it can't be countered, would be more resilient facing the ladder as we climb. But yeah, I mean, this deck held up very well. It does go late, but it gives you the utility that you need to close out games, and frankly, people don't have the answers once you get late. A lot of people build their decks to have that early to mid-game tempo in this meta at the moment. Blue-white control or mono-blue control is not at its strongest right now. We are not seeing a lot of death and taxes either. And I would say that discard deck was an outlier because it's the first one I've seen in the meta. So I think this is a very viable deck. It's just got some vulnerability, and that is in its speed to play. And it does have sufficient answers for you to get to that late game via Union of Third Path, via Depopulate, and via Farewell. But still, it is a slow deck, I'll concede that. So let's leave it there. I'll leave it to you to have a look through these cards, perhaps build a list yourself if you have them. Give it a playtest. Feel free to recommend anything that you think is both adding to the survivability, flexibility, or ramp of this deck. And I'll get to work shimmying in either blue or black. I'll playtest it a bit and see how the deck evolves from here. But keeping in mind, my objective is to make this as close as I can to the fun of a traditional Ultimatum deck, which was maximum flexibility to deal with whatever deck you're up against and protect the deck on the way there. And protection means Farewell, it means Depopulate, it may mean forcing the opponent to sacrifice creatures, or it could mean getting them to discard creatures. whatever the means is, that is sort of the vision of building this deck out at the moment. The mana base will be critically important when we transition to a 3-color. However, at this point, it is pretty stable in 2 colors. So let's leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope this gives you some future ideas on how to play with the World Spell. It's definitely a very powerful card. We just need to find more ways of abusing it. So I'll leave it there and look forward to reading your comments. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.